Before we begin today's investigation, a brief thank you. To everyone supporting Historic Capital on Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee, thank you. Your contributions fund the research. They fund the document collection, the verification, the editing, and the production. Most importantly, you keep these investigations completely independent. Now, let's open the files. Here is my investigation update for Sunday, July 5th, 2026. Today, I'm walking through the streets of Warsaw, Poland. And while we're taking this walk together, I want us to look at a $50 billion vanishing act. I want us to call it exactly what it is. I want us to look at the exact mechanism the Abuja cabal is using to bleed Nigeria dry. Before we begin, thank you for watching. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I appreciate it. And don't forget to hit the like button or the hype button. I don't know what that thing is called, but it feels good when you guys hit it. Alright, let's pull back the curtain on a financial crime so massive it is literally starving a nation. Let's trace the paper. Let's follow the money all the way to the top. Now, let's begin. For the last 3 years, the Nigerian government auctioned off some of the most lucrative deep offshore oil blocks in the Gulf of Guinea. The media celebrated this. They told the public it would bring foreign investment. They told the public it would generate massive revenue to save the collapsing economy. But a 2026 forensic audit has just revealed a terrifying reality. $50 billion generated from these oil block auctions vanished before it ever reached the Central Bank of Nigeria. How do you lose $50 billion? You don't lose it. You steal it. You engineer a system where the wealth of a nation is legally redirected into the pockets of a shadow network. The money never arrived. The inflation skyrocketed. The wealth was successfully diverted. This is not a failure of governance. It is a highly sophisticated, meticulously planned laundering operation orchestrated by the Abuja cartel. To steal at this level, you cannot use briefcases of cash. You need paperwork. You need a labyrinth. The trick begins with something called the signature bonus. By law, when a company wins an oil block, they must pay a massive upfront fee. This money is legally mandated to go directly into the Federation account. That is the money used to build hospitals, pave roads, and stabilize the naira. But look at the contract signed between the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and these new buyers. The documents reveal a deliberate, catastrophic loophole. The signature bonuses were not wired to the central bank. They were wired into private, offshore escrow accounts in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. The money was legally frozen outside the country under the pretext of administrative processing. The agency mandated to protect the nation's wealth signed the exact contracts authorizing its diversion. So, who benefits from this escrow account? Who actually bought these oil blocks? Look at the corporate registries. They are not global energy giants like Shell or Chevron. The buyers are completely unknown, newly registered entities, briefcase firms. Trace the digital breadcrumbs from the government portals. The companies winning Nigeria's sovereign wealth are registered in Port Louis, Mauritius, and Victoria, Seychelles. Why Mauritius? Because it is a secrecy jurisdiction. This is where the Abuja cabal uses the beneficial ownership loophole. Under Nigerian law, a sitting politician or public official cannot buy national assets. So what do? They set up an offshore shell company. They hire a proxy, a corporate lawyer in Geneva or a nominee director in the Caribbean to sign the paperwork. The Nigerian elites sit in Abuja, acting as the sellers on behalf of the state. Simultaneously, through a shell company in Mauritius, those exact same elites are the buyers. They are selling the wealth of the nation to themselves at a massive discount. The digital trail leaves the Nigerian banking system bounces off a server in the Caribbean, and legally disappears. The public sees a foreign investor. The paper trail proves it is a cartel. But having $50 billion trapped in a Caribbean bank account is useless if you cannot spend it. The money must be washed. It must be integrated into the legitimate global financial system. How do they wash it? Concrete and glass. Since 2024, there has been a massive targeted acquisition of luxury real estate by Nigerian politically exposed persons. They are not buying houses in Abuja. They are buying entire floors of skyscrapers in downtown Dubai, Business Bay, and Mayfair, London. But they don't just buy the property to live in it. They use a tactic called ghost tenancies. Listen carefully to how this trick works. The cabal uses Shell Company A to buy a $20 million penthouse in Dubai using the diverted oil money. Then they use Shell Company B, which they also own, to rent that exact same penthouse for an absurdly overvalued price. Say $5 million a year. No one ever lives in the penthouse. It is a ghost tenancy. But on paper, Shell Company A is now earning $5 million a year in perfectly legal, documented rental income. The stolen oil block money has been miraculously transformed into legitimate real estate revenue. The cash is now clean. It can be spent anywhere in the world. The wealth extracted from the Niger Delta is currently building the skyline of the United Arab Emirates. In the past, moving this kind of money required traditional banks. It required the SWIFT network. It required compliance officers who might ask questions or flag the transaction to the EFCC. But the cartel has evolved. They no longer use traditional banks for the initial diversion. They use rogue fintech platforms, shadow bankers. Look at the legislative blind spots deliberately created by the National Assembly. While lawmakers focus heavily on monitoring the tiny bank accounts of ordinary Nigerians, they intentionally left cross-border corporate fintech gateways completely unregulated. These shadow platforms facilitate instant, encrypted transfers outside the traditional banking system. By the time the Auditor General even asks for a bank statement, the money has already been moved, pushed through a real estate trust, and washed clean. The oversight agencies did not fail by accident. They failed because they were deliberately blinded. The money moved. The regulators stared at a blank screen. Now, let me explain exactly why this matters to you. I want you to connect the skyscrapers in Dubai to the suffering in your home. You are told that Nigeria has no money. You are told that the fuel subsidy had to be removed because the country is broke. You are told that taxes must increase. That is a lie. The country is not broke. The country is being actively looted. When $50 billion from oil block sales is diverted into offshore shell companies, those are United States dollars that never enter the Central Bank of Nigeria. When the central bank does not have those dollars, they cannot defend the naira. When the naira crashes, the mathematical consequence is immediate and brutal. The cost of importing fuel advances. The cost of importing wheat, rice, and medicine triples. The inflation destroying your family's life is not a natural economic crisis. It is the direct consequence of the dollars they stole. You are paying for their ghost tenancies. You are paying for their signature bonuses. You are paying for their private jets. Your salary lost half its value this year simply because a politician in Abuja needed to wash $1 billion through Mauritius. They are living in unimaginable luxury, funded entirely by the dirt you stand on, while you are fighting for survival. They are literally feeding off your poverty. The pain you feel is the price of their profit. But in July 2026, the walls began to close in. The leak of the forensic audit triggered massive international pressure. The US Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, and the UK's National Crime Agency began targeting the specific individuals operating this cartel. Unexplained wealth orders were issued in London. Simultaneously, a massive push began for blockchain-based transparency in the oil sector. If every drop of oil and every dollar from an oil block sale was recorded on a public, immutable digital ledger, the era of secret paper trails would end instantly. You cannot fake a blockchain signature. You cannot hide a ghost tenancy from a public ledger. The technology to stop this exists today, but the cabal will fight to the death to prevent it from being implemented, because transparency is the only thing that destroys the machine. The wealth of a nation does not vanish into thin air. It is calculated, it is signed, it is wired. The Abuja cabal thought their financial tracks were erased forever. They thought the shell companies in the Seychelles and the ghost properties in Dubai would keep them hidden. But contracts leave trails. The money did not disappear. It was laundered. The country is not poor. It is paralyzed by its own gatekeepers. Public digital activism and civic outrage are the final weapons left to reclaim the sovereign wealth of the nation. Until the ledgers are opened, you will continue to fund their empire with your suffering. The exports were legal. The outcome was a heist. Because power is rarely hidden. It is written inside the contracts. Follow the trail. Follow the ownership. Follow the money. You are watching Historic Capital.